So let's get on the elevator here. This is Baruch. I'm trying to do something that's a little bit of artistic. This is an idea that I gave to my granddaughter, and she kind of put this together. This really cute little logo, and it's supposed to be like if you ever saw the old time movies from RKO. It was something like the top of the Empire State Building, and then there was radio waves going out. Well, this is the TEK, the Tikkun Elevator Call. That's what we're trying to do. Right now, it's time for the night Zohar of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Hold on. Okay, so now we're going to look at this Zohar. This is the night Zohar. As you know, it's in Parshas Pinchas. So the interesting thing is about, I don't know, many years ago, like 15 years ago or more, maybe 20 years ago. I was at a bar mitzvah and I was seated next to, because the person knew that I was interested in learning Kabbalah, he seated me next to one of the, what we call the Kabbalah Center people. I forget that their name is something like Grunberg or Grunstein. I'm not sure exactly. Gober, something with a G. And they originally were related to Rabbi Ashlag, who wrote the Psalm. At any rate, he was saying just offhand that Parshas Pinchas is full of all kinds of tremendous mysteries that they teach. So I say, hey, well, there must be something there. I don't know what it is. So I say, hey, what? I'm going to learn the whole Parshas Pinchas. Well, a whole Parshas Pinchas is a very deep thing. It goes a long way. It's very long to begin with. And that's where we've come in over here. I'm still working on it. And in fact, it does have all kinds of great things. I have no idea what the Kabbalah Center does with it. I don't really care. But here we have actually Parshas Pinchas. Pinchas, you have to remember, Pinchas is this concept of the bris and how important it is for sexual purity. So this is where Pinchas came in. And now we're looking over here, and it's, well, let's see, this is a reflection of that. Let's see how it goes. So he calls Begine, because of this, Ugmuchu Mari Masnis, and the masters of the Mishnah, it's the Tanoim, Ha'olam haba ein lo achila velo shtia. From this they learned this fact that in the next world, bodily needs are eliminated. There is no eating or drinking. It's pure soul. El tzadikim yoshvim ba'atrosechem b'reishu b'roshechem, but rather tzadikim, those are the pure of relationships. Yoshvim sit, and their crowns upon their head. So this is what are we talking about here? Behind the Mokul now, he says, the Zohar says, Rabbi Shimon writes, but this has been explained. Amr Shabbos Kameku Chivarichu. Now Shabbos comes, and he says Shabbos says before the Kodesh Baruch, as if it was possible to say that the count that leads you to the seventh day of the week, that particular count or that day that it arrives on actually has a relationship with the maker of all things, Kodesh Baruch, which is mentioned by Kodesh Baruch, or in this case, we could say Bina. So Amr Shabbos can make Kudsha Barichu. That what did Shabbos say? All the days of the week, they had a match. They were like in pairs. But me, I don't have anything to match me. So there is nothing to cover Malchus, and Malchus has nothing to cover. So what in the world does this mean? So we are learning Sod. And the Matha Pedevash is famous for bringing us the Ariya Kodesh. So let me see if I get this little focus a little bit better. There we go. Ovagine, Shvil HaYisod. So he said because of the Yisod. The Yisod is the place of the breast. Ukumuhu Mari Masnisin, so the Pirosh Baleh Mishnah, so those who were originally involved in the recitation of the Mishnayos. Ha'olam haba ein bo achila v'lo shtia. There is no eating or drinking, but rather the tzaddikim, which he is related, the word tzaddik is related to the word yisod. Yoshvim ba'atrosechem b'roshehem, they sit, and their crowns are upon their head. Now he needs to explain this. So let's see what he does. Pirush hayisod and nikra tzaddik yoshev. So we understand the Yisod is the fountain, the ultimate, the end fountain from which the Shefa of the Most High flows. So he says Yesod and Nikra Tzaddik, and another way for this is Tzaddik because it remains true. Malchus he atara al rosha, and the Malchus becomes a crown on the head of the Tzaddik. So he says, explains it like this a little bit more. Now there are three different stages of the gestation, the birth, and the growing up of this pair, which are called Zohar v'Nuk. In other words, the concept of opposites, of male and female, is a creation. And its origin is not in the physical world, but its origin is way, way back in Olam Atzilus, and it is gestated in the womb of Bina. That is the tipa, what we call the tipa, the drop is placed into the womb of Ima, and it grows first from an embryonic stage and then into a middle stage, which is called Yanika, where the baby is nursing. And then finally, there's another embryonic stage, but this is already adulthood. This is when the adult mochin come in. Now, in the case of the Ivor stage, which was the very beginning one, there are only three spheros that are recognized, because the upper sphera, which would be called Chagat, Chesed Gevurah Tiferes, that triumvirate is covered over by Netzachod Yisod, right line, left line, middle line, covers it over, so you only see three. And so here's what he says. Shabiyosem zum besod the Iver be'ima. They're in the embryonic stage. Sham hu sod olam habo. This is the secret of the world beyond. Now, I'm trying to understand. V'sham goveres ha-malchus al zer anpin. And there you see that malchus is really in a stronger position in that particular position than zer anpin. V'nasis atara al rosho, and she becomes a crown upon his head. Exactly how it is and in the womb, that he says, let me read it again. He says, should be Yosem Zun Besod the Iver Be'ima. So when it's in that Iver stage inside of Ima, Shom Hu Sod Olam Habo, this is the secret of Olam Habo. That is the passageway or the world beyond physicality. V'sham Goveres HaMalchus Al Zer Anpin, and this is what they're always talking about. And at the end of days, there will be an aliyah of Malchus to Bina. So Malchus will skip over Zer Anpin, who is would be normally her husband and above her. She will skip over it and join together with Bina, and so there the Na'asis Atara al Rosho, so therefore she's above him, becomes a crown on his head. This is a kind of very poetic midrash. Amar Shabbos Kamei Kuchu Barichu. Amra Shabbos Kodesh Baruch Hu. Kuhu Yome, all the days of the week, Nesate Ben Zug. The Kol HaYomim Nesate Ben Zug. Now, what does that mean? Each one of them had a match. But so the Lomer Kisheshes Yimei HaShavua, Haim Sod Vok the Zal. It's the secret of the 6 kitzvahs of Zal, Chesed Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Od Yisod. For Shabbos, he can negate the Malchus, but Shabbos is not part of the 6th. This is the 7th one. So therefore, we see what happens like this. When they're in the secret of the Iver stage, that is the embryonic stage, they have a partner that covers them over. So, like as I was saying before, and if we had a drawing, we might be able to say it a little bit differently. So it is that the Netzach covers over the Chesed, and the Yisod covers over the Tiferes, and the Gevurah covers over, the Hod covers over the Gevurah. So therefore, there are always these lineups together. So lo nasat ben zog, but you didn't give me anything to cover me. So he says Shabbos bebechinas malchus ainli ben zog lahal bishalai. There's nothing to cover me over. And therefore I have to stand in a position all by myself, which is called a step outward. It's like an outer appendage. So in other words, you have these coverings that were like I said, you had Netzach covering the Hod, and the next one would be you would have Netzach covering Chesed, And then the next one would be, just bear with me, Hod covering Gavura, and Yisod covering Tiferes. All you would see, that's called the nine on top of the Chagat. And so that's all you would see was the nine, but they were a pair. But for Malchus, there's no pair. So therefore, Malchus is left out. This is called in Kabbalah the Pasil Labar. It's a special entity of her own. This is Baruch Fleischman. This has been the Tikkun Elevator Kol Night Zohar by the Rashbi.